hashtags too. How to make your brand feel new. It's the surge. Yeah, the social surge. Flying Mo.
Good morning, everybody. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo. We are going live on the gram. And the music just cut out, so we should keep playing that because
we'll have a good outro.
I mean, that's a banger. Absolutely a banger.
Little Frank Sinatra style.
Yeah. What the heck made that this morning? And then also I gotta show this because this was cool. He also made this morning. He's been busy.
I feel like this is Charlie's Angels, guys. I really do. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, we have a short film series coming up. So I'll say, you guys want to go solve some crimes for me? Let's go.
Can we do? Wait,
Good morning, everyone. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo, and we have special guest Mr. Aaron Harris, the most interesting man in commercial real estate, who is joining us this morning. Thank you so much for being here. I know we teased it on social last night. If you are unfamiliar with Mr. Aaron Harris, please, Aaron, give us a little intro about who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Great. Happy to talk a little bit about myself. Aaron Harris. I am currently the Senior Vice President of Development for Slice. Slice is an incredible platform where we are supporting 16,000 independent pizzeria owners throughout the world as they grow their business. We like to joke that we are the non-franchise business, trying to help those guys not only put their business together, but what I am looking to do for them right now is help them locate real estate, to be able to build sites, also to be able to, make it a little bit easier for them. All those things that the independent pizzeria operator has to work through. We're able to bring that to them and find some shared services. Prior to that, I spent almost a decade as the head of development for Dutch Bros Coffee, a little coffee chain some of you might have heard of. Okay, I mean, it's pretty cool. I know obviously Mo's got one or two in her backyard, and just recently we built one in Fly's backyard, and
right in my backyard.
So we went from about 230 Dutch Bros when I joined in 2017 to about 1,150. I decided to call it retirement and leave last year. Retirement, I'm far from retired, and prior to that, I developed about 600 Popeyes as a head of development for Popeyes, and I've done a lot of investing and development on my own throughout the years, and built a couple things, built a Little Caesars or two, and only smart decision I've ever made with money in my life was to invest in real estate. Okay. Only smart decision I ever made. Everything else has been bad. Quite frankly, if I had every dollar back I've wasted on wine, women, song, and cars, I would be a very wealthy man. All right. But that's okay. I got no complaints about that. And I bought my first piece of real estate the day after I turned 18.
Wow.
And in St. Louis, Missouri, they used to run ads for HUD. Housing and Urban Development was trying to sell houses in the city, and 18 years old, they published these things in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and I went and I bought a house in St. Anne, Missouri for like $22,000.
Wow!
I'm not that old, guys. I'm not. All right. I'm there's not. Well, I walked this. No, I'm not that old. And I bought a house for $22,000, and I signed a 30-year mortgage, and I had a $199 house payment. And HUD, okay, I think the statute of limitations is up talking about crimes. HUD's like, you're supposed to live in this house. Yeah, I put a tenant in there. I was paying $199 a month. I put a tenant in there for like $425.
Okay, so you're 18 years old and you decide to do that. We haven't even gotten to development yet, but I can't imagine any 18-year-old that's gonna think that forward ahead. So who was the person that was like who taught you? Who was the person that like pushed you to do this, or is this just Aaron Harris in his brain?
It's Tom Harris, as in my father. All right. I mean, that man's kick ass. I lost him last year, but he you know, at the end of the day, everything I have and everything I've done is because of him and because of the role model he was. And was he the biggest investor? Absolutely not. You know, but he absolutely taught me to do the right thing. And the American, he was a boomer. I mean, his father was born in 1944, and the dream of home ownership and being able to do things and being smart with credit. Have I done that all with? God, no, I've screwed it up a million times. All right. But the fact is he put me on that path. And so every time I've made a mistake, I've had real estate to bail me up. Yeah.
So you're 18, you buy a house. What's the next move? So you move the renter in, you up the rent so you can cover the mortgage, and you make it a little bit, right? So what's the next move after that?
Okay, let's be clear. That $200 a month I was making, in profit on the house, that was going to the wine, women, and song thing. All right. I mean, you got to realize it's 1989 and probably 1990. All right. So, I probably, I use that to go see
the lifestyle.
Well, to go see the Rolling Stones on the Steel Wheels tour. Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay.
I think that's a good investment.
I don't even think you were born yet. All right. So, yeah. But the next step, life, finishing up college, getting a few jobs, having a wrestling career, and then along the way making some money and bonuses while managing and running restaurants and investing that and figuring out how to blow all that money in the restaurant business and all of those great things. Did an internship for a finance company, and that was kind of fun because. Found out about this is all insider information back in the day. But as a intern for the finance company, had a couple folks that were defaulting on their deals, defaulting on mortgages, and they were about to get auctioned or whatnot. They quit as an intern and bought a property or two. All right, yeah, I did. Might have done some things like that. As an intern, I had approval rights for loans for mobile homes. It was ridiculous, and I just took all of that and put it into what can I do for my future. But let me be very clear. Commercial real estate is awesome. Restaurants are awesome. Some of the retail stuff is awesome. And that's what I love to do. And I've always been the guy who says, my job happens outside. Whether my job is investing for myself and my family, whether my job is just working for somebody else, I can't stand sitting at a desk. I can't stand sitting at a desk or doing things. I probably talked to you ladies 100 times. This may be the very first time you guys have ever talked to me where I'm actually sitting at a desk in my house.
Usually, I'm assuming that you're driving around when you're talking to us.
Well, if I thought the Wi-Fi connection was strong enough, we'd be doing this from a vehicle today. Okay, we absolutely would because that's where the rubber hits the road,
right.
And we joke. I mean, usually we're out there doing it. We'll talk about X and stuff like that. And, I'm a dude with a cigar. I have a cigar in my hand all times, all right, while driving down the road. We'll talk about that a little bit, but I think I like to get out there in the field, and I like to nothing I hate worse than somebody who's trying to pitch you a property that they've never been to. Or they're like, well, on Google Earth, it says this. I'm like, yeah, so what? Okay, that's what Google Earth, Google lies. All right. And you have to not only dig in, you have to know those markets. And I always challenge myself that I know almost, we're right on, Dwayne. You get out there and you drive the markets. Not only do I like to know the markets, I like to know what's happening in those communities. And, I know the streets in Fly's neighborhood these days. I know the streets in your neighborhood, Mo. And
he's not lying. I was talking about a Dutch Brothers that irritates me because it's in front of my favorite Korean restaurant in downtown Spokane. I don't even mention the street. And Aaron's like, oh yeah, are you talking about the one on Division? I was like, how the freak do you know that? How do you know that? He's like, oh, well, we did this, this, and this. And like, it blew my mind that you had such market knowledge and intel and remembered like when it opened and all of this information. One of those questions about development that I want to ask you is, and this is kind of about development, but what is the weirdest site that you've ever gone to like to scope out? Like, where was it and what were you doing?
The weird. Okay, this is. I don't know if this is the weirdest one. It was one of the more unique ones. We were converting. We were looking at converting a Kentucky Fried Chicken in Oro Valley, California. And if you guys don't know, like Lake Oro and the Oro Dam, it's actually larger than the Hoover Dam. It's pretty cool up in Northern California. Unfortunately, a KFC franchisee had shut down a bunch of locations. We were going to convert these for Popeyes. And out on a tour, late into the evening, and somebody had, I like to do a lot of my touring at night, and I was with some folks, but somebody had, with their car, had struck a wall at the building and broke a gas line. Now, typical Aaron rolling up onto a job site, somebody struck, but you wouldn't know that somebody had broke the gas line. We walked in that door, overwhelmed with gas. I had maybe a lit cigar in my hand. Yeah, I might have. We didn't blow the building up, but that might have been that might be the most dangerous situation. Right there. We had and went in and called the fire department. They had to evacuate the building and turn on the exhaust hood. It was incredible just watching that all come down. By the way, I think that's a store that does like $3 million a year for them right now, so they're making a lot of money. You know, we converted into an incredible Popeyes. So I think that's one of the wilder ones. But the stories when we do this development, all of these buildings and all these sites, they all have a soul. I know that's really weird to say, right? And my team at Popeyes and my team at Dutch, they get mad at me. You know, oh, we're talking about store number 3322. What the hell is store 3322? Okay, these things have a name. That's Oro Valley. That's Redondo. That's Redondo Beach Promenade. Everything has a name and has a soul. And when these teams work together on projects, I show this off a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see this. I got this jar of concrete. Jar of cement.
I've got a jar of dirt.
This is from a facility I built. This is the team worked together, and we saved. And I had the general contractor grab some mason jars, and I put a little in like 30 jars, and the 30 people who worked their butts off for us on this team. And you know what? This sits on my desk. Now, I tell you, a couple project managers like, do you know what TSA said as I tried to bring a jar of concrete through? You know? I hope you told them we're hiring. That's what I told them. I mean, but this is the soul. This right here is the soul of the roasting facility that I built for Dutch Bros in Melissa, Texas. That's what this is right here.
So DB said, I recommend people tour new apartments to live at night too. That's where you can see how the neighborhood really is.
So there's so much truth to that. And I'm used to running businesses where convenience, retail, you're a customer, and I need to make sure that it's a place where not only is there activity, like you want early, late, mid-afternoon. You want to make sure you've got all those day parts, but there's also safety is a big component of what we do. And if I wouldn't feel comfortable with you guys or my wives, and wives are so crazy. Okay, okay, but more than one wife.
College angels.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. But the point is, would I feel comfortable with you going through my drive-through in this neighborhood after dark, or with my kids? And if I'm not comfortable with you, is that a place I want to do business? Right. And so so that has to happen. And those are the stories you can't tell. And I am never going to approve a site, or never even to get past. Never is a strong word, but I'm never going to approve a site or take something through a true formal real estate committee, having visited it multiple times, and that includes weekends, and that includes evenings. All right. Well, I was there at 2:00 on a Wednesday afternoon, and it wasn't very busy. Who the hell goes to Winn-Dixie at 2:00 on a Wednesday afternoon? I want to know what's happening on Saturday night. I want to know when people are out there shopping. I want to know what's happening. That's what I want to see what's happening. Okay. And so you want to be able to validate some data. And so we talk about boots on the ground. there's all kinds of great tools out there. You can go on Placer and you can pull data and you can say, hey, this says they're busy on Wednesday at 2 o'clock, but it really says they're busier on Saturday at 4 p.m., things like that. And then you get there and you validate that and see if you have enough of those validation points to say, this is where I want to be. Yeah. And what's fun is I've done a lot of drive-throughs, and now we're in the pizza world. We're starting to really look for pizza things. By the way, Fly, how awesome is that we're twinning today? Okay, I mean that's great, and we're able to start taking some data and use this here with the pizza places. And the pizza places I'm building, some of them will have drive-throughs, right? But that's not the plan. It's not necessarily drive-through. And when you start to think about your typical pizzeria or your stereotypical pizzeria, like I wander around Manhattan at 1 o'clock in the morning quite a bit. And that's awesome. All right. I've been trying to be healthy and eat healthy and lose some weight. God, the dangers of the job, right? I mean, you want to go in and grab a slice at like 4 different places. Then you're just ready for a nap when you really should be working out. But I absolutely love it. We get to create some opportunities and compelling futures for these folks.
So is Slice is your new endeavor? Is Slice an app? Is it a platform? What is it?
Yeah, Slice is a tech company. Let me at its core. And I really hope Alir, our founder, is listening. I told him I was going to do this, and I really hope he's listening. Slice at its core is a tech company, and they provide a cafeteria-style list of services to support the independent operators. And so, if you want to start Mo's Pizza, and Mo, you don't want to have to spend a fortune to create a mobile app. You don't want to have to spend a fortune to recreate a system for your POS system. You have no idea how to sign up credit card processing. You don't even want to begin to think about online ordering or what that might start to look like. All of those tech things that you have to be able to compete with today that I may not have had to do back in 1989. The things that you have to do just to be in the game today. And so we provide all of those great things. And when we provide those to you, it's not only is it turnkey, I can give you all or just parts of that. And then we have something where you join us and you're part of our team. We call it family membership. What does that mean? It means we're putting everything out there for you, but you really want to build your brand. Okay. Movo Media, you want to do your brand. But let's say Mo wants to start a pizza place. Nobody knows Mo's Pizza Place. Like you got Mama's recipe, you got this great recipe, and you're going to have service with a smile, and you got this great plan. Who the hell is Mo? Right? I mean, and now I've got to crack the code with getting you in front of a real estate, things like that, and helping you brand. All right. Well, you go to Restaurant Depot, and by the way, the great people at Restaurant Depot, and you go buy generic. Oh God, I haven't shopped there all day long. But you go buy some generic pizza boxes. They're like, I don't know, they're like 79 cents a piece. All right, and they're generic. It says pizza. All right, but how about this? I've got digital tools, and I can do. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
All right. So I have the ability to print. I've got the blur screen on. Let me see how this works.
No, it's good.
No, you were good.
Okay, I have the ability to print custom pizza boxes for every one of my customers. And I can do this in your sourcing warehouse and what we call just-in-time printing. This isn't a sales pitch. I want to show you something here, though. See where it says like Olympic Westwood Pizza Company? All right. The corner of Olympic and Westwood in West Los Angeles. Okay. Corner. Great piece of real estate. So we want to build a pizza shop there. I don't even have a brand. It's a great corner. I created a logo for Olympic Westwood Pizza Company. I put it on a box. Okay. I legitimately put this on a box, and I'm like, wow, that looks like a great place to build a pizza joint. But then I still have to get through the landlord. So you know what we do? We write a letter of intent. We write a letter of intent. We put it inside the pizza box and have a driver drop this off at the landlord. I got their attention. Did the deal happen? Yeah, probably not. But you know what? I got their attention, and I got them to talk, and that was what was awesome.
That's it. It's like the point of being able to start a conversation, which you are uniquely, you are an expert conversation.
I am no shrinking violet. Yeah. Okay.
So DB says they opened a pizza shop off the highway next to Hustler's Entertainment in West 50s in Manhattan. It made perfect sense. These people leave hungry at 4 a.m.
Absolutely. And I hope that's one of our customers. And we have 16,000 people. I unfortunately I don't know them all yet, right? But we have. Not only do I hope that's one of our customers, people leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning, but it's not only the places in Manhattan. It's also the places in the rural areas and the suburbs, and whether it be building a pizza shop in wherever you are in Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana, or Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Because pizza is kind of universal, but the platform we have, and we're trying to make it easy. And so, like my role and the team that I put together, I want you to be able to focus on taking care of your guests. I want you to be able to I don't expect you to know how to build a restaurant. My God, you might do that. If you're lucky, you might do that every other year. That's if you're really lucky. If you're a small business operator, I expect you to know how to take care of customers, and then leave it to my team to help you go find it. And then you can tell us why we're wrong, and you know more than us every step of the way, and that's okay. All right, but we're here to help and support you. And I'm really excited about what the future looks like here. The other thing is I talked about building these warehouses to track goods, goods, and to be able to print boxes. I built myself and my team have built 13 of those warehouses over the course of the last 6 months. So if you look at a couple, I'm tagged on a couple LinkedIn posts. You'll see I posted the front door, and there's a video. I built there's a last one I put a little video up there. The one we built in Los Angeles, and built a really community center. So if you're in LA and you want to learn about the pizza business, come by my community hub there and sit down. And I actually don't sell pizza out of there, but I'll show you everything we do. And it's a real, I hate to call it a showroom because it's really a hub. I'd rather you come in, just talk business, and we watch a Dodger game. Yeah, and I'll print you, I'll print your logos on a pizza box for you. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about AI and how you're using it for site selection. I know that we had a discussion on Spaces, and if you're not getting on X Spaces in the evening and listening to this conversation, you are missing out on so much valuable content. I was actually very quiet last night, surprisingly enough, on the call, because there was a great discussion happening between Ken Ashley and what was that other guy's name? I forget what his handle was.
What was it? It was a Plain Toast or
what?
Oh,
Plain Toast? Oh, yeah, I like him. Yeah.
They were having a great conversation, and it's just a matter of just listening, right? If you are a student of commercial real estate, being able to listen to these guys who are actually working in the field, who are actually doing deals, is super important. I think it would be a great education for a lot of young folks who are in commercial real estate to actually, instead of potentially doom scrolling through their phone, listening to these conversations. But on one of these spaces, and this was a couple months ago, you were talking about how you were trying to figure out site selection. I think Kevin Crone was hosting that night. And you were discussing how you went to ChatGPT and it wasn't giving you what you wanted, but then you used Grok. And Grok gave you exactly what you were looking for. So talk to me about that and how you are implementing AI and site selection.
All right, let me, I got a couple of notes here just because while you're talking, I made a note. Let me just say this real quick before we get into the AI for site selection. I am not a broker. Occasionally I dabble in being a developer and, investor, whatnot. I for the most part, I'm a retailer and I'm an end user, and I'm the guy who's out there building relationships with the landlords and being able to do things. I have learned so much in the last few years by sitting on these Twitter or these X Spaces and being a part and listening to this community. I now know how a broker is supposed to think, and I know the way that their business works, and I know the way that these guys get paid. And I've learned more about broker splits and commissions than anybody ever wants to know. But I also know it becomes really clear as you start to talk to folks. You can pick up the things in the mentality, which is this is somebody who's actually really engaged in the business of their customers, or this is somebody who's just a mercenary out there and they don't care who it is, right? And obviously you can guess which one of those folks I want to deal with when it comes to the business standpoint. And so people are like, dude, you're the one signing the leases or buying the property. Why are you in this community? I want to be a better customer. And the only way I'm going to be a better customer is sitting there and learning the way you guys, and I say you guys, I mean the people in that real estate community work. Yeah. Have I sourced deals coming out of X? I have tons of them. I source tons of them. We can talk about that, but it's very important. Now, so I want to back up here a little bit using AI now. Kind of go back to your original question. Everybody thinks there's a magic wand. Hey, I can put all this stuff into a filter and I can use this program, and this program is going to tell me you're going to build a store right here, and that store is going to do $3 million a year, and you're going to be very successful, and everybody's going to be happy. Yeah, it's BS. It doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. But what you can do is you can use these AI tools to write a prompt and to be able to scrape certain amounts of data. Okay. And not only can you scrape that data, it can pinpoint some places you need to be and give you very directional information. AI is never going to tell you, I say never is a short word, a weird word, because it might get there eventually. It's not going to tell you how bad the traffic backs up and that people can't actually get in and out of an intersection. That whole thing that Dwayne and I were just talking about seeing yourself out on the road. It's going to tell you what roads to go look at night, so you can start to see what the traffic looks like. But more granular than that, as you start to go down the road on a prompt, it's where are the places where I'll use pizza for a second, because this is what pays the bills. All right. Okay. So as you're looking at a prompt, you ask AI, where should I be looking to build an independent style pizzeria? That's a very random question. Okay. But then that's all I'm going to ask. Now, what I would likely do is I would actually log into Grok and I would say, please help me write a prompt for how to search for an independent style pizzeria. This is what's on my mind. And it'd be a very casual conversation just like this, probably in my Apple Notes. And then I push a button and have Grok clean it up and turn it into a prompt. So now I've had AI write my prompt.
Yep. And
then I actually execute the prompt. And what you'll see, which by the way, it makes us all so much smarter. It really does. It really does. Okay. And my notes section of my Apple phone is dangerous at this point. So you have this incredible prompt, and it will start to scrape data and ask the questions. And if you can keep it general for a while, you'll see where all the sources come in as you look at the way it pulls your data. For example, it pulls data that's 18 months old on Placer. Everybody's used Placer data, right? And anybody listening right now, and if the Placer guys are listening, I'm sorry for what I'm about to say. Your data's awesome, but I can get it for free it's 18 months old, and I can get it for free through some of the AI models. It's not the most recent up to date. The other thing is the AIs are able to scrape certain data, and they're able to pull customer sentiment. And so when they start pulling customer sentiment, that's not something that's ever been a part of a lot of the models I've worked with in the past. And so we look at that data as like, they're scraping and they're saying, there are 150 customers on Google reviews saying it'd be great if we had a non-chain pizza place in Spokane, Washington. Voila! I wonder if I know a guy who helps non-chain pizza guys. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. And that's the type of data. That's the type of data you can put together. And you have to train it. And I say train it. You have to qualify some of your questions, which is what are the top 10 intersections? If you're a retailer who's actually working as a chief development officer studying real estate, or you're a broker and you can't do those off the top of your head without AI, quit. You're in the wrong business. Okay, you should know that. All right. I'm not worried about going to Times Square. Every knucklehead knows you want to be in Times Square. Okay. I'm not worried. That's easy. What I want to know is, okay, am I supposed to be on Division Street? Am I supposed to be in front of LSU? Okay. And then am I benchmarking this, and is this telling me I want to be, and no offense here, but I don't want to be at LSU. I want to be in front of Texas A&M, and that's my best chance for success to hedge my, all right, based upon how the retailers and whatnot are doing. And so you have to, you have to know to ask and qualify those questions. That's how I use that data, but it's a slippery slope. It's garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
And I remember a day when we didn't really use spreadsheets. Back in there's always been some sort of spreadsheet. It wasn't Excel. I think it was like Lotus 123 or something that we were using. We were learning about, but learning to create formulas was like learning a new language, right? Learning to speak French, learning to speak Spanish. She was learning a new language, and it was garbage in, garbage out, and we'd get them wrong sometimes. You're like, oh, the formula's wrong. When's the last time you said a formula's wrong? Probably haven't, because we have a generation of folks who have grown up and they speak formulas. Now we got a generation of folks who's going to grow up and learn to speak prompts. They're going to learn to speak prompts. And Fly, I know you've got a little one, and I suspect she is learning. I mean, you got to monitor obviously what she's doing, but I suspect she, we talk about digitally native, but I'm talking about AI prompt native. And so 10 years from now, she can write her own ticket, right? She can be, 17 years old, have any job she wants because she knows how to do this. And I like to think, for example, I was really good at, I like to think I'm really competent, and I've always been really good at staying ahead of the curve. With Excel, I joke with some of my younger analysts back in the day. I'm like, what you just did in 20 minutes would have taken me 4 hours. I could do the same thing. All right. It's just not native to me. And so I started rambling about Excel and spreadsheets.
No, you're fine. It makes absolute sense, because so the thing is that you are adapting to technology as it comes through, and part of that space is that I found so fascinating. You were talking about moving trucks, if I remember correctly, or moving, or vans, correct? You were trying to place vans in a certain area so that, because you had done the cost analysis of like, if we rent it, this is how much it's going to cost, and then we have to wait. But if I have just the vehicle sitting right there for the people to use, they can come in and take them and use them as they need.
100%. I would be a little bit more specific with the example. We have delivery vans that deliver boxes to our customers that we print out of the warehouses and whatnot. And I've got this crazy list of customers, and then I have a van. I have an electric van. We have a Rivian van, which it's a beautiful van. It doesn't use gas. You plug it in. Apologies to Rivian, because I think they're based right here where I live in Redondo Beach. I mean, they got some beautiful vehicles, but this van, the range is not very good on the van. And I'm just being upfront. That range anxiety is real, and we found that in the cold weather, it just doesn't hold up as well as we would like either. I mean, it's nothing wrong with the van. It actually drives really good. And some of our teams like, oh, the Rivians are great, because we have some people came from Amazon and love them. But I find myself with a van was almost unusable for me, like, because we just couldn't get the range we needed based upon what we were doing. I took every one of my customers and warehouses that I had, and I said, I'm seeing a range of about 110 miles round trip that I think I can get in warm weather out of this Rivian van. Now, somebody from Rivian is going to log in here and say, oh, your numbers are wrong. It's 110 miles, and prove me wrong. All right. But I just ran it through an AI. I ran it through Grok, and I said, guys, tell me the best place based upon my existing hub locations, my existing customer base. Where's the best place to get the most effective use of this van? All right. And it went through it went through all the exercises, and it came up with two places. It told me to either use it in Philadelphia or to use it in South Florida. All right. I took the warm weather option. I'm going to put the thing down in South Florida because I want to hedge my bet. But those are the types of tools I'm able to do, and I'm glad we did it with one van and I was able to figure this out. But this type of data would keep me from buying 25 vans that I can't be useful with, right? And I run everything through AI these days. I ask it way too many questions. I am sometimes worried, like, okay, I'm like, what am I doing with my taxes? And I like to do my own taxes, which is dangerous. And it's like, okay, let me send my tax return and let me see what Grok has to say about my tax return. And I talked about Grok, but I'm using Gemini as well to be able to do this. And we also like to run my data through 2 or 3 different AI sources to kind of benchmark. Always looking for biases. I have a bias, which is I like Grok. I think Grok has been incredible, and it's been really a journal. I call it a generalist, so to speak. But it's been everything I could need, and it's been very directive for other things. I found that ChatGPT has gotten very, very poor. I think that ChatGPT is like AOL at this point.
At some point, we did an episode talking about, is ChatGPT the new MySpace, right? The genesis, and then and I will say, in terms of things that OpenAI I think has is starting to look more at the coding side of things, right? As opposed to strategy, analytics, and kind of the stuff that we're talking about here. But yeah, it's deteriorated for sure.
Well, it's deteriorated, and I mean, it's going to find its purpose, and there's a use there. And every one of us who started playing with AI in any way probably started with, we actually started with Grammarly, just nobody knows that. But then, but we really started with ChatGPT, and we've evolved to other things. And whether it's Perplexity, Perplexity is something I like, and trying to learn a little bit about coding with Copilot, and all this stuff we're trying to get good at. But I always just end up going back to Grok.
So let me ask you this: are you planning with Slice as a platform or as an app? Are you guys planning on implementing AI to help and this might be way in the weeds and not a conversation to have right now, but are you guys planning to use AI to help your people that are using Slice to determine like what their output needs to be on, say, like a Wednesday at 4:00? Because I'm thinking about, like, how much cheese and how much sauce and how much stuff to create beforehand to then bring that information to them. They're like, well, historically it says that on Wednesdays at 4:00, we're only selling 2 pies for an hour or 2 hours. So what do we need to do during that time that's actually going to either generate money or save us money?
100%. So we're in the very early innings of whatever this is with AI and whatever this starts to begin. And then we're even earlier when it comes to us trying to bring a set of service independent pizzerias, right? So there's going to be an adoption curve longer than most. It's not like I'm running a McDonald's franchise and I say, you're going to do it my way, or you're going to be, you can't do it. So, and if you know anybody who's an independent restaurant operator, they're passionate, and they've either bootstrapped this and it's their heart and their soul, and they're only going to do it the way they want to do, or they've got and so you have to really win their hearts and minds to be able to help them along. So with you're talking about things we might do with AI. I have a theory, which is you start to build any type of concept, and I'm not a restaurant concept. I'm a services provider concept. It's AI everything. All right. It needs to be AI everything, and that's the future. Now, I want to be careful. I've got Dell, who she is our chief technology officer. She's absolutely incredible. Got this brilliant mind, and I would let her speak to the way that works. And every idea that I have is probably like MySpace level ideas compared to what the grown-ups do with this. But I can tell you, not only is that coming, I think the early adoption for us is going to be on the real estate and development side. I'm using that right now, just even using AI to help us do plan check, using AI to help us sketch and draw and render what the inside of these buildings may look like. I shared a presentation with you guys yesterday, and you saw silly pizza concepts I've created. So that's where I think the early adoption is. And then down the road, and I don't want to promise something one of our 16,000 customers is listening, but I think the ability to scrape our data and be able to bring some of that data together to be able to put the insights, like you just talked about, I call it demand planning, right? Which is, I know between 2 and 4 on a Wednesday afternoon, I need to have 2 of these and 3 of these and 4 of these ready to go, because I'm selling by the slice. Or better yet, pizza doesn't take forever to cook. So but really it's how much sauce and how much dough and how much fresh product do I need to bring in? And can I get deliveries twice a week? Can I get deliveries, can I get deliveries 4 times a week based upon my volume and to be able to help them forecast and track that historical data and have something that removes human error. What do I mean by that? You're planning. Oh, it's the the Little League World Series is happening this week. Oh, they moved it by week, but they moved it by week, so it's a week later the next year. But somehow you've got an AI that is intuitive enough to help you with that demand planning. What happens to us in the restaurant business all the time? It seems like Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday, but sometimes Christmas will fall like on a Wednesday. So that means Christmas Eve is on Tuesday. You've just lost the whole darn week, y'all. You just have. It's gone. I mean, like people haven't gone, and it's like, and so you got your operators are like, well, my sales are down 40% week over week. Wait, from last week or from last year? Well, they're down 40% from last year. I'm going out of business. Really? No, you're not. Okay, then the next week, my sales are up 42%. I'm a genius. No, guys, it's the calendar. All right.
Right.
So something to be able to help you be able to plan that, right? And that's just incredible stuff. And plus, I go back to this. What do you see? And when you're out there driving around, when you're out there driving around and you see a piece of real estate, make a note, and then ask your Grok or your Perplexity or ask your, 5 of them on a council, whatever it is. You say, hey guys, what's going on in this area? Like legitimately, just ask ask your AIs what's going on in this area. You're gonna find out placer data, traffic counts. All right, you're gonna be like, hey, what's going on with Johnny's Pasta Shop? There is no trademark for Johnny's Pasta Shop. I can go buy the trademark. I can go do something, right? There's a lot of great information out there. It just put it to work. But you're not going to do it sitting at a desk watching reruns of The Sopranos, all right? You literally, it's boots on the ground, and you got to get out there and take care of business. Yeah.
So speaking of IP, because you just mentioned I'm going to go buy a brand, you were teasing on X yesterday, or was it LinkedIn, that you were at the last one. It reminded me of Ice Age. It's the last dandelion. Okay, are we going to talk about what this?
I'll talk about it, but I won't talk about the brand. Okay. I'll talk about. I've there's and people are going to figure this out, and everybody has my phone number. You can text me direct, and I'd be happy to talk to you. But I want to be respectful here. Anybody who grew up in Southern California knows certain brands. Certain brands are legendary, nostalgic, and whatnot. And there was a chain that ended up getting acquired. It ended up getting revived. It's had its ups and downs over the years. And unfortunately, I think the current owner, he owns the trademark, and he's not a restaurateur. And he just hasn't had the right group behind him. And I think he's licensed to a few folks, and they've had a little bit of a life cycle here, and they're down to one location. It looks like that might be coming to an end. I don't know for sure. And he's reached out. He says, hey, do you have any ideas of how I might grow? And I've talked to the guy for a few years, and the opportunity could be out there to maybe acquire that intellectual property and the trademark, and either myself or maybe another operator, another chain might want to be able to pick that up and grow it. I mean, there's always a nostalgia play, but nostalgia doesn't work long term. It's gonna work in the near term, but you have to figure out how to reinvent and what can you do? How can you take something that was really cool in the 70s and 80s and make it really cool here in 2026 or 2027. So I looked at that, but I went and I had lunch there yesterday, or late lunch, and I wrote up a little post about it, as you saw. And it's like, sometimes is the dead horse already dead, right? And I don't know that it's a dead horse. It's more rhetorical. Sometimes do we leave it in the past, or is this something I want to get involved in? you guys know me. I want to get involved in everything. So absolutely. And our guys at Slice won't like me. And I'm like, man, I know we're the pizza guys, but could I use by the way, it's not a pizza brand, but I'm like, hey, can I maybe use our POS system or use some of our systems and have a little bit of fun here, put this together? Or do I know some other great folks in the operations business who should probably acquire this and do something with it? I got a few good ideas, and they may go nowhere and may get shut down on them. But that's the thing. That whole driving around, listening to spaces, and being able to do great things in the middle of the night, that's also where the mind works a mile a minute, and you come up with these ideas. And I'm blessed. I have a really good memory. And I can tell the stories, and I study, and I probably try and learn more information than I should about things I shouldn't know about. And it helps me, and it comes back to help me down the road. Like this brand I'm talking about yesterday, I've kind of had an idea what's going on with even the exact situation as of yesterday for 15 years. And I probably know more about the history and facts. Being able to remember that, and it just helps me and makes me a much more educated consumer there. And I follow this stuff. And then, I read books about all this crap, and I know the history lessons of every time something's gone wrong. But any landlord out there listening, they know. If you want to know how your restaurant's going to do, your customer's going to do, if they're operating an existing restaurant, go check it out. If you want to say, well, they're just not very good operators, well, shame on you for not looking at what they were doing beforehand.
Mm.
Okay? I'm about to sign a $10,000 a month lease with you, and you're operating a pizza shop, and this is going to be your first one in LA, and your other one's in Dallas. I'm about to go sign a $100,000 lease with you. I'm getting on a plane and going to Dallas and sneaking in and having lunch and checking out how you do, because that's my name on that's my name on the deed. I don't want you to piss off every customer. You've got to be able to engage in that. And you may have somebody who's trying to do their startup, their first one, my Westwood Pizza Company, Pico Westwood Pizza Company. Great. Where you been working? Oh, you're the chef at the Chase Park Plaza Hotel in St. Louis. Cool. I'm going to go have lunch there. You want to see what you want to see how they're wired. Yeah. And within reason, I'm not going to ask you to fly to the other side of the world and do this, right? But yeah.
Our buddy Joe Blanton does with Stone Commercial Real Estate, or with Stone Restaurant Real Estate. Joe's fabulous, but he's definitely boots on the ground kind of guy and goes and checks stuff out. And we've talked about franchisees and franchisors and what makes a good one. In your experience, what makes some of those QSR concepts scalable? Off the top of your head, what makes them easily scalable?
What makes them easily scalable is the focus right now is on growth and being able to run a great brand. So one of my favorite brands out there right now, obviously, I love the coffee guys, but one of my favorite brands out there is like Dave's Hot Chicken. Okay. If you're not following Dave's Hot Chicken and seeing what that group has been able to do, they've done some pretty special things. And Dan and Ann are running the real estate show over there. They're great. They're great folks. Their brands are hip. Their brands are cool. They're bringing in good people who are passionate about running restaurants. They're not just bringing in dollars and cents guys who are like, well, we cut the labor down to this. We'll put this in the bottom line and we won't get hurt. I won't get hurt is the kiss of death in the restaurant business. Okay. You can't. So you really need people who say, I'm going to grow this brand. I'm going to make an investment spend, and I'm going to focus on my people. If you're running your systems correctly, this became restaurant talk, guys. All right. This became okay. By the way, this might be a little takeoff series here. Okay. Not only social search. But if you are taking care of your customers and you are serving a great quality product, you're serving it fast, you're serving it friendly, and more important, you're a great part of that community. If you're able to do that, you're 10 steps ahead of somebody who's just looking at this as just an investment, checking the boxes. All right. You have to have a passion, and you've got to be a part of communities. And so the brands that are part of communities are the ones that I love. We've all seen stories, and I am a big fan of Burger King. FYI, I live in Redondo Beach, California. There's not a Burger King within like 14 miles of me. Figure that out. All right, it's not. And maybe it's good. I'm trying to be healthy, but there's not a Burger King within 14 miles. There are really good Burger Kings out there. Okay, and Patrick from RBI is listening. You know this. I mean, he's the chairman. Okay, there's some really good Burger Kings out there where you've got passionate franchisees and operators, and they're involved and they're sponsoring the Little League and the community, and they're doing this and they're doing everything. And then you've got guys out there where it's just a cog in the wheel for them. They're not paying attention. And you can almost feel the difference as you walk into those financial driven Burger Kings versus the ones that are independently operated. The food's the same. It really is. I mean, the food really should be the same, but the way it's served. So your question, the brands that are focused on doing that right thing, I look at these independent pizza operators, every one of them is passionate. And if you can channel that passion, I look at what I was doing at Dutch Bros. We were creating a compelling future for every one of those operators. Every one of them wanted to be there. If you had a bad day at Dutch Bros, we'd send you home and say, yeah, we love you. We'll see you tomorrow. But you're fighting with your boyfriend today and you're just in a bad mood and you're not bringing it to the guest. Get out. We'll see you tomorrow. We're not mad, but we're going to make sure you bring it. That is the mentality with, when I see it with the pizza guys, when I saw it with the coffee folks, I look at what Dave's doing. I love that. And so a brand that can focus on those controls. Okay. And then it needs to be sustainable. And I'm not talking about healthy, environmental, sustainable ESG stuff. I mean, it has to be something that can scale and it's going to stand the test of time. And we've seen a lot of concepts that come and go. And, people are like, we love bowls. Nobody has bowls anymore. We love Gooseberry. Listen, frozen yogurt's great, but when's the last time you went out for froyo? Okay.
It's literally one time I did.
One time. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's great. And a lot of people made a lot of money. But they also invested their hopes and dreams into something that wasn't necessarily going to last long term. And I think about everybody drinks coffee,
chicken, pizza. Come on,
coffee, chicken, burgers, pizza. The only other thing we need to add to that category is great ramen. All right, because ramen is universal.
Ooh.
Yes, ramen is fabulous.
Okay.
Look at that. Sorry. Dwayne.
By the way, I love Dwayne today. I mean, this is great. I have for what it's worth, and I think I'll see you guys at the gala. Yep. I've been working an ongoing project to visit every ramen shop in Manhattan. All right, and so the good news is Slice's offices are in Manhattan, so I am there like every 2 to 3 weeks, and I spend a lot of time there. I think I visited about 70 different ramen shops in Manhattan, but the reality is, I think what are there, probably 700. Yeah. So
let me ask you about dirty sodas. What are your thoughts on this craze that's happening with these dirty sodas and these concept stores that are opening up?
I love dirty sodas.
Do you really?
Oh, I absolutely. Dirty Dr. Pepper. Hey, there's too much coconut in the menu on all these dirty soda places. Not that I don't like coconut, but
why is that?
Why is it?
Is that for the Gen Z girl?
I have no idea. It's like you look at the menu, it's like you have 90% of your menu's got coconut. But anyway, let me say this. My friends at Swig are doing a really good job. Yep. My friends at Sodalicious are doing a really good job. And then I also see a handful of the other startups. So there's, I think that portion of the business is incredible. It's quick. Your cost of goods is reasonable. So, they're selling cookies and soda out of like Sodalicious and Swig. They started in Utah, and I think there's this belief that, hey, that's an LDS thing where they don't drink coffee, but they drink sodas, and there's something to be said for that. But then I find out that some of the most successful of the dirty soda stores are actually in places like Arkansas and Louisiana. All right. So I've studied this quite a bit. And one of the things, there's no better information as far as consumer data than what comes from the beverage companies. Okay. Yes, Russ, I am messing with the, I don't hate coconut. There's just too much on the menu. Let's be very clear. All right. And sorry, the guys from Savory or Swig are going to be sending me a nasty gram later today. Okay. You have me talking about all the coconut, but there's no better consumer data than what comes from the beverage companies. You think Coke and Pepsi don't know marketing better than I mean, you guys are marketing professionals, and Coke and Pepsi, they're the 600-pound gorilla. And so they're going to tell you where the consumer is for that beverage. That's a cheat code. That's it. If I'm running a chain like that, okay. Andrew Smith from Savory's probably listening to me right now saying, Aaron, okay, duh. All right. But if I'm running a chain like that, it's paint by numbers as far as where I'm supposed to be, as where my consumers, where the best consumer behavior for drinking this. So now I have to start to figure in convenience. Where now I have to now I have to start to figure in access to drive-through, where the population. But as far as knowing where that consumer is, so I love that brand, and I think I love those brands. I think it's just getting started. What do you figure? There's 350 real dirty soda shops in the world right now. There might be slightly more, but I think if I take the grown-ups that are out there doing it, then a few of the independents, there might be 350. You can 10x that before you have to start thinking. Before you think you're at a saturation point. So. Wow. So we want to do the social surge, dirty soda concept. You guys just let me know, all right? All right. We'll figure out how to do it. I absolutely do that.
Dwayne says, I just learned something new, dirty soda. I'm playing about as adventurous with soda as a seltzer with a splash of fruit punch.
Oh, baby, there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down. You don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely need to. Yeah.
All right, Fly, you got a couple questions.
Yeah, I do. I want to just highlight, just to not... all of this is so useful, and I hope everyone listening, is this, restaurant talk? Absolutely 100%. But for everybody listening, I think one thing to take away from the way that you talk and the way that you share is for, if you have, and I don't know if there's going to be a reboot coming, but when I first met you in 24, and you were, hard in Dutch Bros at the time, you were doing these Saturday night, I think, posts about, developments that were going on in Dutch Bros. And, I have conversations with people all the time who are like, what do I talk about on social media? What do I say? How do I write? Do I have any, I talked to somebody yesterday and they were like, I don't think I'm an authority on anything. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I want to know, you've built a huge following for yourself, off of social media, but specifically on that series, like when you would sit down to talk about the developments and the work and the people, like what was your process? How did you do that? And just, that's the question. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna ramble for a few minutes. I know we're probably over time, but just
way over time.
Guys, it's Aaron. Just deal with it, okay? I mean, I can't tell a short story. All right. I've always played with LinkedIn a little bit and had a little bit of fun with it, but never a giant end user, so to speak. Used it to hire some folks. Couple things happened during the pandemic. The world had went to hell in March and April, as everybody knows. And living in Southern California, the world had locked down, and our CEO of Dutch at the time and kind of gave a little town hall speech and said, well, we may only open 40 stores this year. I'm like, oh, crap, I've already opened 42 this year. My God, what's going on? Right? Like, he's like, we're done. My entire team is now locked down and not allowed to travel. 3 weeks earlier, we had just done a full market tour with our executives and our board about launching the state of Texas. Right? We just done this great thing. And I'm now thinking I'm not building any more stores. This company's going out of business. The world is going straight downhill. And I'm much more worried about my team. I built this great team. I've got people that have worked for me at multiple brands that I brought on board with me that are not going to have a job. Mm-hmm. This sucks. Okay. That's that heavy responsibility, right? Like, okay, you know what? I can go dig ditches, but I don't want to go make 75-year-old Tony dig ditches. Okay. Like I'm being honest with you. He's why I want to. And I got in the car and I drove to Texas because, the travel ban applied to everybody but me because I just don't listen to the rules. And I said, there's a couple things going to happen here. I'm going to double down and I'm going to focus on our growth, even though we're not supposed to. And we're all dead anyway, or I'm going to come out of this on the right way. In the meantime, every Saturday night, I'm sitting in a hotel. I'm the only guest in this hotel for the first 3 weeks during the pandemic. Homewood Suites, Frisco, Texas, room 112. It's great. I mean, I may or may not have rearranged the furniture day one.
You need to put a plaque on the door. Okay.
Yeah.
There might be some things on the wall. I might have rearranged the furniture day one and set the thing up, but I what kept weighing on me is I was trying to make deals and out there kept thinking about what can I do with my team. I was convinced I was going to have to lay people off, and as a leader and as a boss, nothing sucks worse than having to lay people off. I don't have a problem firing somebody if they're really bad at their job or firing somebody if they do something wrong. But if you have to lay them off through no fault of their own, and now they can't feed their family or whatnot, they have that anxiety, that just sucks. And I started thinking about how do I highlight some of these folks? And how do I go on LinkedIn? And so I start writing a LinkedIn post. And by the way, at that point, I was actually opening a store every week or close, right? I was opening a store almost every week. And so I start highlighting some of my projects. I post a photo of the store, not a professional photo. My construction managers leave the site, say it's turned over. They literally, sometimes I get a snapshot and I got their rearview mirror, right? Which I love that. And I post a photo and I put, something about Dutch Bros, and I give a shout out to the team. Shout out to my real estate manager, shout out to a couple of my admins, shout out to my construction managers. And they started out very small. If you go back and you look in March of 2020 and you look at the history, how they progressed. Well, what was amazing, the reason I did that, I actually wanted people to see some of my construction managers and real estate managers. I kind of wanted them to get recruited. I wanted somebody to say, oh, Susie Q might need a job. I wanted them to steal my people. That's terrible to say, but I didn't want to have to lay people off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we had a little anxiety there. That first week I did so then I did a bunch, way too much free time, right? Because of the lockdown. I did a bunch of research, MySpace research, algorithm research, Facebook. And this is that whole we're going meta thing. And they're in a lawsuit and I'm reading stuff about the lawsuit and the data. And I figured out how to hack an algorithm how to hack an algorithm a little bit. No one posts on LinkedIn on Saturday nights in 2020. No one did.
Still.
Okay. No one's posting on LinkedIn on Saturday nights. I had a sizable following. And what I did is I just turned around and I started doing a Saturday night update, a very routine Saturday night update, highlight Saturday night updates, learn a few of the hashtags, which I still don't know if hashtags actually do anything for you. They do?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I start doing that. I got 13,000 views that first week I did. Okay. And that was great.
Well, you had a captive audience. You absolutely 100% had a captive audience because nobody else was doing anything. Yeah. Where were they? They were online. And
so every week I did it, and every week this started to grow. Every week this started to grow. And it became clear, in a month, I wasn't going to have to lay off anybody, which was awesome, and things were great. But then I'm highlighting my people. And I joke about 75-year-old Tony, who you told me I'll talk about earlier. I think I'm not even sure Tony has a flip phone. It might be a bag phone. All right. He's really old school, right? He doesn't send emails and things like that. Tony pulls me aside one day and he says, because I was thinking about I was going to stop doing these updates, right? I don't need to do this every week. Tony says, I think that's really cool when you highlight me on LinkedIn that way. Oh my God, you know what LinkedIn is, man? Exactly. And now I'm I can never stop doing
Tony.
All right, I can, and so I did that, but I did this every week. Now, here's the benefits of this. So I was the only guy doing that on Saturday nights, and I had a regular scheduled update. Let's not pretend I did a pre-written post or had some AI do it, or I used, apparently, which they taught me about later, I didn't use the scheduler to say it goes in at 5:15. I didn't do any of that. Most of the time, I was having a cocktail and a cigar, sitting by the pool at the Homewood Suites and watching the UFC fights. Okay, on a Saturday night, and I'm just making it up as I go. Typos, spelling, whatever. But I want to tell the story. Then I started having a little bit of fun with it. All right. I've never been really a guy who's filtered. So I'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay. Even many will read the post. Thanks, Russell. I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and talk about, we fought Mother Nature in City Hall and we were able to pull this off, and, tell some of the story, and then post photos. One of the things I love to do is post photos of a conversion, a before and an after.
People love it.
And so you're a landlord and you got an old Rally's Checkers hamburger building. But then you see that I've taken one of those old Rally's Checkers buildings and I've converted it to this sexy Dutch Bros. And you see the photos and you're like, oh, wow, I can give my building a facelift and get a better tenant in here. No offense to Rallies and Checkers. Their burgers are great. We were talking about burgers earlier. I mean, right? The fries are better though. Oh, Rallies and Checkers fries are the best. But, but some landlord is looking at this and they're like, great. How do we, how do I do that? And you put that story out there. You put stories out there about things that go wrong in your projects. But then you want to make sure that you highlight your folks. Every week, I'm posting about an opening. People are like, hey, you're opening every week. Actually, I'm opening 3 to 4 every week. I'm only highlighting some of the stories. All right. And we did that. It brings the team up. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, what is Dutch Bros doing?
Yep.
Investors are looking at what we do. And you might know that we went public in 2021. Do I think the fact that I had 200,000 people a week looking at my Saturday night updates about what we're doing, I think that's something to do with our, you know what? My ego says, yeah, it's probably not true, but for sake of the story, let's just say Aaron did that, okay? And by the way, if Christine from Dutch is listening, I'm sorry. I know it wasn't me. It's all you. All right.
But there's something to be said for the fact that, you know, even if you weren't getting some of those investors and even if you weren't getting some of those people to like, comment, share, they were consuming the content that you were creating and they were just eating it up. 1, because it was interesting. 2, because you made it human, right? We talk about this all the time. You have to make your content human. If people cannot relate to you, if they can't relate to the people that you work with, your content ends up just becoming more noise. And
absolutely.
So what I love about the story is that you, and we use this phrase too much, but you looked outside of the box and said, hey, how can I keep my team going? Even though we know that right now it's really scary and shitty, but let's take a look at what we can do to keep them going. I think that's the undertold story of what you did with that. And the fact that you probably still have people who come up to you to this day and talk about those Saturday night stories.
Well, you know, it's funny. My team, my team always go to the trade shows, and people will be like, "Hey, we know Aaron from his Saturday Night Updates," and my team hears about that all the time, right? Now, what's funny is if you start to look around a few of these other brands, you'll see they've attempted to do the same thing. They've attempted to do some very similar. Hey, I'm a trendsetter. Ooh, there you go. No, but they haven't been consistent. That's wild. I mean, I'm consistently watching UFC fights on a Saturday night, pouring a cocktail and typing something up. Okay. Now at Slice, unfortunately, I'm not, we're ramping some stuff up. So it's not like I'm doing something every Saturday. I did post a little video in one of the warehouses on one of the Saturdays not too long ago. And it was awesome, right? Because people are like, oh, Aaron, what, and it was good. It was good for us here at Slice. And I'm excited about that. But being able to tell the stories and share the stories of what it takes. And I'll give you guys your time back in a minute. But I want to talk about X for a second. I talk about X Space, but even like X Post and things like that. One of my very close friends is Chris Hatch. All right. I love Chris. You got a Dirt Dog hat back there somewhere?
I got like 3.
Yeah. I had 3 or 4 of them, but my teenage boys, apparently that's a fashion statement. All right. So the Hatch and I have become very close, and obviously we go back and forth and have a little bit of fun, kind of going at each other on X. And I've known him, and he actually at one point said, "I don't want to do business with you." When I was trying to build Popeyes, he says, "I'm going to go with a different brand." Ask him to tell you that story. He regrets that because we may or may not have built 27 Popeyes just to spite him. Okay. By the way, shout out to Chris and Mrs. H. Yesterday was their 20th anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right, so shout out to them. But he and I have gone back and forth, and sometimes I've let the team do the deals. I let the team do the deals. I mean, that's the thing when you're the boss. Every once in a while, you can't do all the deals. You can't be as much boots on it. You have to let your team do their job. One person on his team, one person on my team, they went back and forth on something for like 7 months. Finally, he and I are frustrated with each other. In 7 minutes, we had the deal done. And we tell the story.
7 minutes?
7 minutes, we had the deal done. I'm like, no, boom. And we were good. It took us 7 minutes. And it's not about bragging that we can do a deal in 7 minutes. It's just about we're thinking together. And of course, Chris writes a post up about that, and everybody, of course, every knucklehead landlord or developer out there is like, hey, can we do a deal in 7 minutes, right? Yeah. But the fact that Chris and I were able to work so good to each other, it's funny. I had another deal in Texas that was the developer imploded. They didn't have any money, even though something would. Guess who I literally at that point had to give that deal to somebody. Yo, Dirt Dog. Here's a deal on a silver platter. That's the type of relationship we built. Exactly. He gave me a great deal for our brand. I gave him a great deal for him and his family and his team. And that's the way we always open those doors. And if someone told me right now that you want to build those connections and I need to go update my MySpace or AOL profile, because that's what it works, that's exactly what we need to do. Okay.
Yep. 100%. Fly and I talk to prospects a lot, and obviously we talk to prospects. One of the questions that they ask us is why is it important for me to be on social media? Or they know that they need to be on, but they don't understand the human component.
Yes.
And what I'd like to reiterate is the fact that Aaron is responding to people. He's posting, he's starting those conversations that you can hire Fly and I, and we'd love to work with you, but you have to be a part of the equation. The you has to be in there. You have to be responding to people. You have to be having those conversations, responding in DMs. It's not just putting the content out. It's building an actual community of people that want to hear you and converse with you.
I mean, being able to tell those stories and speak that language, and I've traded texts with you guys, but whether it's social media, whatnot, we talk about like short form content. I joke about the Korean soap operas, things like that. But absolutely, I'm hooked, right? But like these little 6 minutes at a time type videos. How do you start to tell a story about your brand and what you're up to? Whether it's opening a pizzeria or getting prepared for Super Bowl Sunday, and how you might get prepared day of the week, or you're getting your staff dressed up for Halloween. That's your big, Halloween's a big day in the pizza business, right? What does that look like? And how do you tell those stories? And people tell me, most people would rather deal with a passionate business owner than deal with some corporate mucky muck, right? You have some corporate executive. And that's unfair. I mean, I'm probably one of those corporate executives, right? But most people would rather deal with, Mo and Fly, who own their pizza joint, and they're passionate about this and they're real, versus, well, we're sitting in a boardroom and we're going to talk about the projections, and forget that, right?
You're
you know
good.
what? It
happens all the time.
Wow.
It's okay. It's just funny when I react. I have clearly we could keep talking forever. We got to do this again, but I do have.
We haven't even talked about wrestling.
We haven't, and we're over an hour in. I got other things I got to do. Okay, yeah. Can we get a wrestling story? And then I also have a question from a major friend of the show. My father, Dr. Fromage, would like to know who makes the best cheese for pizzas, if you will. And then let's get a wrestling story. And then I got to do some work, y'all.
Okay. All right. So let me handle the cheese thing for a second. Cheese is a commodity. As Papa has probably shared with you, cheese is a commodity. Who makes the best cheese? I am not going to answer that, because there's just too many different suppliers that support our team. And that wouldn't be fair. What I do know is there's a cheese crisis potentially coming. All right. There are issues when it comes to the commodity and the milk, and the cost of goods for most of our operators, whether it be a major chain operator or it be an operator, the independent pizzeria, cheese is probably one of the biggest component as to what they're being able to do. And so we're going to need to see some stabilization in the cheese business over the course of the next couple of years, or there could be a problem, or you're going to end up with fake cheese. And we don't want fake cheese. We want real cheese. We want real product out there for a great tasty pizza. One of the things that we can do, we talk about the number of pizza shops that we support right now. Through our cafeteria style platforms, we support 16,000 customers. And of those 16,000 customers, that collective, not only that collective buying power, that collective voice, as we start to that collective voice, we can be an advocate for those folks. to not only find for what they need, and whether it be we need to work on some regulation to help with the cheese business, whether we need to go negotiate and find some buying power, whatever it needs to happen. And we're so it's not one person against the world. It's 16,000 people against the system, and we're able to organize that. And so that's actually, when I say we're in the very early innings of what we're doing, is we're trying to grow this platform at Slice. I can't wait to see what that starts to look like, because I mean, do I have a vision, and does Alir, our founder, have a vision of controlling 100% of the supply chain? Maybe, but you know what? Not yet, right? Absolutely. Okay, so you want to rush?
Sounds like Fromage needs to consult with Slice.
Yeah, I think maybe I might need to get you guys together. Okay, one little wrestling story.
Hang on a second. I know you got to go. Okay, you know what? Here's the thing about wrestling. As everybody knows, professional wrestler. I was able to. I've been very fortunate. I've had a career in the restaurant development business. I've been able to work on 6 continents. I've also been very fortunate. I've been able to wrestle on 6 continents, right? And that's always incredible. And I always like to tell the stories. I was never a top tier wrestler. I mean, I was a guy you saw on TV every now and then, but like it wasn't the guy. I was asked recently how many times did I get to wrestle Hulk Hogan. I wrestled Hulk Hogan like 9 times, like legitimately 9 times. Wow.
Did he beat you up?
What?
What? I said, did he beat you up?
We don't. Of course he did. Hulk Hogan. Come on. Of course he did. All right.
Find those tapes.
When my sons were young, they would have shared some of those with you. Okay. Okay. You could have sent the kids iTunes gift cards, and they would share lots of matches with you. Now they're grown up and they won't do that. But I may have had to talk to 6-year-old Nicky, my youngest, and when he was 6, and say, "Dude, stop talking to strange ropers." All right. No. I got to do some really cool things. Got to travel the world. Got to meet some great people. Never made any real money at it. Did as far as wrestling stories, plenty of good matches, plenty of fun. I know we got some folks here, Ken and Redbeard, based in Atlanta. Guys based here in Atlanta. I was wrestling for a company called WCW, which was Ted Turner's company, World Championship Wrestling, and we were the final wrestling show at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're the final wrestling show at the Omni, and that was pretty fun. We did a benefit show for Habitat for Humanity, and we did some little goofy thing. We had like 30 people in the ring being thrown over the top rope and all that, and here I was. I think I was like 3rd person thrown out over the top rope or the ring, and we were putting on this show. And I had done a lot of work with Habitat for Humanity, but as I'm flying over the top rope and on the ring, I'm making eye contact with President Jimmy Carter. That was pretty cool. All right, literally getting thrown over the top rope while making eye contact with the former president. That was at the Omni. That might have been one of the cool stories. And then I did a tour of Japan, and I sat in the. It's really weird. I was a nobody wrestler, so I was like in the back of the bus, so to speak, and like wasn't, and like forget this. I was like 22 and had a credit card, 23, whatever it was. I got off the bus and ended up getting a rental car and said, just tell me where to be. And I explored Japan on my own and showed up for wrestling shows. And that might be the craziest 2 weeks of my life. Yeah.
Is that going to be in the book?
Oh, God. Yeah, we got to figure. Okay. Yes, it's going to be in the book. Yeah, there will be some great stories in the book. We got to wait for some statute of limitations to expire. Okay, because that's real. But yeah, there's going to be some great stories in the book. But everything we do is just trying to make the world a better place. And right. Whether that be creating opportunities and trying to unlock some doors and help. If somebody's made a mistake, we help them through it, and we put people on a righteous path. And the good news about what's in that book is what not to do, and that's anything Aaron's ever done.
You really are the most interesting man in commercial real estate, truly.
Guys, thank you so much for having me talk to you. And I mean, we could talk about real estate, but no, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for answering the call. We We just texted him out of the blue, possibility that you'll be able to show up. And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? So, Aaron, how do people get in touch with you if they're trying to connect with you?
Sure. Social media, right? Find me. Okay. Okay. LinkedIn, Aaron Harris on LinkedIn. On X, I got that fancy handle, which is dude with a cigar. All right. All right. But you can also reach me, aaron.harris@slice.com. Okay. I have a beeper. You guys can beep me if you want. All right. Nobody ever pages me anymore.
Do you have a pager? Seriously?
I 100% have a pager.
Oh my gosh.
I will send you the pager number shortly.
Please.
I will send the fact that
I'm gonna be typing hello.
Oh, guys, we can go down this rabbit hole.
I'm gonna type 80085.
Oh, come on. You can do better than that. Okay.
No, okay, we gotta go, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Aaron, so much for showing up. We'll be back here on Tuesday. We appreciate everybody for joining us with Aaron Harris today. If you have any questions, just reach out to him. And we appreciate everybody for being here. Everybody have a great day. Bye.
Start the day.